What are contingencies in a real estate deal? This is Zanganeh bringing you tips and tricks on how to win in the San Diego real estate market. Simply put, these are just basically conditions or requirements that must be met for a real estate transaction to keep moving forward. These contingencies give the buyer and the seller an option to unravel or exit the transaction if for some reason things don't go to plan. So typically when you have a real estate transaction, if you're a cash buyer, you really just have your inspections and you have your disclosures, title, that kind of stuff. If you're obtaining financing, you have a few more contingencies in there, being an appraisal and a financing contingency. So your inspection contingency is just basically what it sounds like. You're gonna have a general home inspection. Myself as an agent, when I walk a property with you or see a property online, I'm usually able to recommend certain inspections I think might be important, whether it be a pool, a roof, termite, sewer, or whatever it looks like when you're there at the property. I'm gonna make a custom recommendation for pretty much every property that we go look at. That's gonna be pretty much the major milestone to make sure that you like the property. The next thing are disclosures. You're gonna get disclosures from the agents, you're gonna get disclosures from the sellers. If there's an HOA, you'll get all their rules and disclosures that go along with that. And that gives you an option to learn a lot about the property in real time from the people who really know it best. It's usually the owners and the agents who are part of the transaction. And what it does is allows you to learn information that you wouldn't know about the property. Like maybe they had a leak, maybe they expanded the house, maybe someone passed away at the property. These are all things that are super important in a real estate transaction. We always love to know as much of this stuff up front as possible so that you don't get stuck in the middle of a deal, learning stuff after you've spent money on inspections and things that are very costly and hard to avoid. And then obviously title. We want to make sure a property has clear title. We want to make sure there's no outstanding liens, code violations, judgments, or any kind of wacky stuff that we see on a property. We also want to know if there are certain easements where someone has the right to use the property or you have the right to use somebody else's property, and what the rules are of those rights to make sure it works for you and your family. And then the last two, if you have a loan, are appraisal and financing. An appraisal contingency essentially means that if you're gonna go buy a house for $1 million, the bank wants to make sure it's actually $1 million house, so they send a third party out to make sure and confirm the value of that property. Sometimes, most of the time they come in at value if it's an at-market type property deal. Sometimes they come above value, meaning that you're buying the home with built-in equity. And then sometimes they come in lower than value, meaning that you may see something in the property more than the appraiser does and more than the bank does that you're willing to pay extra for. And then the last one is financing. Typically in today's world, we want to make sure we always have a pre-approval done before you even offer on a home, but there's always things that come up in the middle of a transaction in regards to somebody's financing, in regards to the property you're financing. That's your last kind of get out of jail free contingency. And we take these very seriously. We don't look at contingencies as something you can just bail out at any time. You have to have a good reason to bail out. And if you're using the financing contingency, this is one of the big misconceptions. You can't just say, I couldn't get financing. You have to actually show proof that you could not qualify or the property could not qualify for that loan. Now, one of the most important questions I always get asked is, hey Sean, can I get my money back if we open escrow and cancel? Well, I'm gonna tell you in most cases, yes. But in some cases, the seller can put up a fight and make a big deal about it and drag things out. And we always do our best to make sure that's alleviated in the smoothest amount of time. My theory is if you act in good faith and act with integrity, you'll always get your money back as long as you do the right thing in the right time frames and you have a good agent by your side to help you through that process. These are just some tips and tricks on how to win in the San Diego real estate market. Make sure to follow along for more.